right, I guess we'll get started. My name is Jared Burden. I'm a partner at GreeneHurlocker, and I'm really happy that you've joined our monthly Tuesdays 10 at 10 interview event. And if you're here, you probably have heard what it's about, so I won't spend any time with that since we only have 10 minutes. And I wanted to introduce you to David Trivette. David Trivette owns, with his brother Stephen, a company called Pioneer Sandwiches, which operates 6 Jimmy John's stores in Charlottesville and up and down the 81 corridor. And very successful company, very successful operations that have been around, I understand, since 2005, I believe you told me. Yeah, the first store was in Charlottesville.
That's right.
And so without further ado and further introduction, I wanted to introduce David. And this is about COVID and your business. So COVID hit us like a ton of bricks in mid-March. And we all know, I don't need to talk about how COVID hit us, but what were some of the consequences of COVID-19 for your business, and were you expecting it even before it happened?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jared. I appreciate you doing this interview. And yeah, to answer that question, we did. I won't say that we saw this coming the way that it actually occurred, but a couple of weeks prior to this and the week leading up to this, we were having conversations with our bank, just in some important key relationships, to try to figure out if things went south, what we might do. And then I remember being immediately in touch with you. I believe the actual shutdown for Virginia occurred on Friday the 13th, March 13th, and we were in touch shortly after that. And so it definitely did hit like a ton of bricks. And I think the thing that was so acute for our industry specifically, and each industry had their own challenge as this thing developed, but the thing that for our industry was the immediate overnight drop off in revenue. And our business depends greatly on daily revenue. And so for us, it was an immediate impact. I would say for most restaurants and hospitality industry companies, it was an immediate impact. And it was a very intense, like I said, it was not a slow developing thing. This happened overnight. And so in that sense, there were a great deal of challenges that we had to try to handle all at once. And so to get through that early phase, it was really a sort of a coming together of the key relationships. And so the franchisor or bank, our food supplier, those would be the ones I would say are the biggest on the vendor side. And really, we had varying levels of communication with those, but they all were very helpful in keeping things moving as the cash crunch hit everybody. Our employees is another really key, if not the biggest key to our business. And they also were sort of reeling from this and weren't really sure what it was, what to do with it. Is it safe to come to work? Is it safe to be around people? And you have to be around people for our model to work. And so our team members did a fantastic job adapting to the situation as well. And then the customers were great, to be honest with you. A lot of customers went straight to delivery if they could do it, if they were in our delivery area. Some of them continued to pick up as time went on. It did get busier, and customers were very receptive to the things we were doing and trying to do and trying to change.
So I remember right away, one of the things you thought about was rent and landlords, and you talked to Sec about what you did with that. That's the first, I heard talk with you about this effect.
Sure. So out of the gate, my brother and I had some conversations. You and I talked and had some conversations even on the corporate side with Jimmy John's real estate department. But within a couple of days, we had drafted an email and made contact with our landlords and sent them a letter. Had already made contact with some of them before that, either on the phone or some of them we communicate with a lot via text message. And so they knew that we were going to be reaching out. So within a couple of days, we had that communication to them. And then at that point, that opened up dialogue independently with each of them. And some of them were quick to respond, and some of them were a little slower to respond. But across the board, all of our landlords worked with us on one level or another.
That's great.
And yeah, that was a big starting point for us, definitely.
So I was talking with you a bit beforehand, and you were saying that the very nature of the Jimmy John's business model that I think all of us probably on this webinar know about, that basic business model helped you get through COVID and still helps you now. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So Jimmy John's, our model is set up to be quick. We have cold products only. We don't serve hot anything, soup or sandwich, so the prep time is a short window for us. And so before this hit, we had three primary sources of revenue. One would be a customer walks into the store, orders their food and sits down, or orders their food and takes it out. That was a big one. That was probably half our business everywhere. Delivery is a big piece of our business, and then our online pickup or call ahead pickup, as we might term it, was growing. It was, as I think I said to you, it was the biggest. It was a part of our business that was growing the most before this happened. And so as this thing unfolded, we were able to, we really blessed in the sense that we were able just to shift to two of the three customer access points, if you will, and really focus on those. We didn't have to reinvent either one of those. So they were already in place. Our model already functioned really well with those. And so the customers coming in the store immediately dropped off. There was hardly anybody coming in the store. Over time, that picked up, and they would come in the store and order and carry their food out. Even in that access point, though, we still have an advantage, I think, because we can take the order, get the sandwich in their hand, and most of the time under a minute, or sometimes two, depending on how busy we are, and they're out the door. So our model allows us to, even when somebody does come in the store, serve them really quickly and get them out, so that there's not groups of folks in the store. And we still don't have the lobby open. We're still not allowing the customers to sit inside and eat. But again, one of the reasons is because we can serve so well on those other two models, the pickup piece and the delivery piece. And I think that if you look at the industry and some of the things that this has changed, this is already a growing part of the business, delivery and pickup for most restaurants. We've done delivery for a long time. For many restaurants, they've just now been able to get into the third-party service and have their food delivered. But I think what you probably saw was a growth trajectory that would have taken a number of years. 3, 4, 5 years, and you acted it almost into just a couple of months, in some cases even a few weeks, because you took this one model that was a huge part of everybody's business and you just took it away. And so in order to survive, you had to really focus on the other. So I think we've seen for that part of the business, and most people have, a real advancement in terms of speed of the growth of that part of the business.
So we just have a couple of minutes left, but I think folks would be interested to know, what are some of the lessons, some of the changes you've made during COVID that might actually be of a more permanent nature and might stay with you after this hopefully ends in the not too distant future?
Sure. So at Jimmy John's, one of the things we have always taken very seriously is sanitation. And so we have these checklists that we follow, and have for the whole time we've been in the business. And so we have these checklists that we follow throughout the day. We do them in the morning, after lunch, after dinner, and then before close. And it involves a thorough cleaning of the store, countertops, tables, etc., doors. All of those things were getting done throughout the day, depending on how long the store is open, what time they close at night. 3 to 5 times a day, those things would be done. So what's changed now is that it's required every hour. And there are some additional things we have added to it, either as recommendation by the state or the CDC. There's some additional cleaning tasks that have been added. And so that's something that we've done more frequently. So now it's every hour, at least every hour we're doing these cleaning sessions. And I think that will stick. I think things like that are going to stick around. It's a relatively low impact change. I mean, it does take time, and somebody has to do it, and we have to have a list, and we have to be thorough with it. So it's not that it has no impact on us, but it's something that I do think will change. And I think it's good for, again, just the overall sanitation. There are some things with employee, again, we were very specific and careful with anytime there was a sick employee, and there are certain protocols that we needed to follow, but that's just going to be more detailed, more regulated. And I think, again, some of those things will stick around as well.
And one last thing, you were able to not get rid of employees on either, at all or at any large amount. And have you learned anything? Have any of the changes been about being leaner on the employment side, or is that just a good thing that happened, that one of the surprises perhaps of COVID, that you didn't have to reduce your employee headcount?
Yeah, well, we certainly did have to get lean, and some of that happens naturally. Some people didn't want to work; they were afraid to come to work, or they had concerns about the virus. And so, some people, when schools closed, when JMU closed, and UVA and Virginia Tech, some students left town and went home. So some of those people stopped working, but we were able to make it through this without having to actually cut anybody out of the workforce. And again, we did have to get lean there early on. We recognized that we had to do something different than we were. And so we did tighten up with our labor. But again, some of that was intentional, and some of that was just sort of as a default of folks leaving town or not being comfortable coming to work. So it was really a combination of things. We definitely had to really focus on being lean, or for the first 4 to 6 weeks, especially, until we started to gain a little bit of traction. Customers started to come out a little bit more. And from that point, one of our main goals has been to serve well and keep the team intact.
That's great. Well, we're a couple of minutes over, as I think we usually are, just inevitably. But David, I really did want to thank you for joining us for these few minutes, and I'm really happy that the business is going well, and perhaps better than can be expected during a pandemic like this, which I hope will not be repeated for another 100 years, if at all. So again, Thanks, David, and thanks to all of you for joining today's Tuesday 10 at 10. I hope you keep watching your emails and other ways you might get invited or become aware of next month's Tuesday 10 at 10, which will certainly be on the second Tuesday of next month. So we look forward to seeing you then, and thanks for showing up today.